Hey guys, today I'm going to be doing a review of Hostel Part 2 by Eli Roth, his second film in the Hostel franchise. This is the second Hostel film he directed. He didn't do number 3. I've put up reviews on my channel before of Hostel 1 and Hostel 3. I did them in that order because that's the order that I watched them in. I've seen 1 and 2 before. I watched number 1, then number 3, then number 2 again recently. Number 2, this is very similar to the original Hostel film. If you enjoyed Hostel, the first one, for like its disgusting overtone and very gory and violent scenes, then you're probably going to like this as well. As in my Hostel Part 3 review I say that film's rubbish. Don't watch that film. If you're going to watch Hostel, watch 1 or 2. This film develops the idea of the original film in 2 different ways, which one of the ways I find really interesting, and the other way I find a bit boring. The premise of this film is that 3 girls this time, instead of 3 boys like last time, go on a art exhibition journey kind of thing, and then they go to the village where the original hostel's in, and the normal kind of things happen to them. You know, they just like slowly get tortured one by one, they disappear, stuff like that, and all of the people in the town are responsible for their kidnappings and death, and people pay to kill them. The thing I really did like about Hostel Part 2, the second storyline, is the storyline of 2 men who are actually going in to do this killing and torturing, and they're paying good money to do it. And it's really interesting, the switch up between the two men, because one of the men is really into it. He's the one that buys them both tickets. He's really into it and wants to can't wait to get his hands on whoever the person is, and they vote accordingly to the what the victim looks like, using different devices, mobile devices, which I think was quite clever. Like he bets using his phone on a golf course and gets it, and he's looking forward to it throughout the whole film. The other guy, on the other hand, has a family, a wife and a kid, and he's really not sure about whether he's going to enjoy it and whether he wants to do it. And right until the point when he's about to do it, he's all against it. He really doesn't want to do it. He's really nervous, he's shaking. And then the last time you see him with his mate, he's like that as well. This review is going to have spoilers because that's what I'm going to talk about this film, like the different kind of gory things in it and stuff like that. Also a bit of some of the plot twists, which I really liked. The reason I'm going to spoil this is because this film is just a film you're going to watch for the gore, the violence. You're not going to watch it for the storyline. This very much is part of the torture porn genre. So if you like films like Saw, you're going to like this. If you like the first Hostel, you're definitely going to like this film. Okay, the first death and torture in the film is the nerdy girl of the 3. The one that kind of joins the other 2 just because she doesn't have any other friends. She wants to, she thinks that they like her, and one of them really doesn't like her and one of them does. But she gets drawn into this big Slovakian, I think he's in Slovakia, Slovakian guy, and they go on a boat ride together, and then he smacks her over the head with a pole or something. And the next thing you see is her hanging upside down naked, which is a scene shot, a tracking shot of her face going across the upside down, which is really cool. It's really quite scary, and you don't know what's going to happen to her. And then you can see them all preparing candles and stuff like that, and it looks like there's a bath in the floor. This scene in the film is famously known as a bloodbath scene, because that's exactly what it is. And a rich woman comes down, takes off all of her clothes and lays in the bath, and she has a scythe next to her, and then she just digs into the girl hanging upside down, slashes through her back and her stomach and her face and stuff like that, slitting her throat, and then having a bath in her blood, which is very weird and very disgusting and horrible to watch. This is the most violent scene in the film, in my opinion, and this is the film which is on the front cover of the box. You can see her hanging upside down. This edition is the unseen edition. I've only seen the unseen edition. I haven't seen the one that was released in cinemas, but I pretty much can. You're pretty much getting the same film. I think you probably just get a couple more shots of her getting raped, You probably just get a couple. You probably just get a couple more shots of her getting like killed horribly and stuff like that, and that scene's really hard to watch. I was cringing and like flinching a lot during that scene because the whole thought of that whole thing is just disgusting. Right, then the two guys. It's worth noting as well that the two guys in the film get the other two women that they voted for, so they already know that they're going to get these two women, and the guy who's up for it, when he gets to the part of it, he's enjoying all the scariness. He's enjoying the fact that she's scared out of her mind, and that she's really terrified for her own life, and he really enjoys that. And he goes at her with an axle grinder, and it falls out the plug socket. And as he does it, because he can reach her face, it just goes into her face, and the whole face just gets like ripped open, and she's bleeding, and she's like screaming, and he's like, "Fuck this, I'm out. I'm not doing it anymore," which I thought was really good. Like throughout the whole film, he was really into it. He was really couldn't wait to get and to kill these women however he wanted. And then, when he does inflict violence, he realizes how horrible and what a monster he is for wanting to do it, and that he tries to get out of it. And when he tries to get out of it, the company that do the whole hostel business sets a load of dogs on him, and he gets ripped apart by some dogs. The guy, as a bit of a like change as well, the guy who wasn't looking forward to it at all really gets into it when he goes into the chamber, and he starts to really enjoy the fact that he can do whatever he wants to this girl. He starts to go on her side and like tricks her into thinking that she's going to be able to escape, and then she does, and he doesn't really do much to he doesn't do much to that girl, but then he's given the opportunity to work on her friend as well that's just had the axle grinder in the face, and he goes into that room and kills her. I've forgotten how, but I think that might be shown, I'm not sure. And then another girl, the girl that was in his chamber, escapes and goes to the heads of the hostel and demands freedom, that she'll pay a lot of money. And then the end of the film is a shot with her chopping off the guy's penis and then throwing it to a dog for the dog to eat, which really isn't a very nice thing to watch. It's quite horrible. It's easier to watch though than the bloodbath scene, and that's saying something, because the whole thought of, you know, that kind of thing's horrible. But another couple of, like, again, like the first film, we have a couple of shots of different torture chambers with different people with their specific different wants and needs. I think we have another scene of some electric thing, and we also have a scene which is really quite disturbing, when they go around asking if anybody wants to use this girl that's just had their face ripped open. They go to this room, and there's a man with someone strapped down to a table, and he's like chopping off bits of their flesh really slowly, and they're screaming in pain, and then he just goes and eats it, and it's really quite a very disturbing image of just that happening. One thing, the one scene in this film that I found really creepy over the whole film. I mean, the whole film's got a horrible vibe to it, as you would imagine from the first film, because that has an absolutely disgusting vibe to it as well. But in this film, there's one scene which is really creepy, which involves a really creepy woman or man. I couldn't really tell. I think it's a man, but he kind of looks like a woman, who works in the like the hostel, and prepares the people by putting makeup on and like making them look pretty before it. That scene in there is incredibly creepy, because he's played by a really creepy actress, and they play really well. I just said really a lot of times. So this film, if you enjoyed the first Hostel film, no doubt you will like this film. It's incredibly gory and violent. I mean, it takes a while to get into it, but once you get there, the bloodbath scene in particular is really horrible. This should also be where you stop watching the Hostel franchise, because 1 and 2 are very good films. 3 is a pile of dog shit. This has been my review. If you like I don't know what I give the first Hostel film. I'd probably give it an 8 or something. But if you like this genre of film, to be absolutely disgusted and appalled by cinema, flinching, cringing, stuff like that, especially in the torture porn genre, then you should watch this film. You probably already have if you're watching this video, but this film I'd say is an 8 out of 10. I'd give it an 8. It's not amazing, but it isn't terrible, and there's some plot points that don't work, and I really didn't like how the end of the first film was incorporated into the second film. There was no need for that at all. That really was just unimportant and unnecessary, and probably was just in there to fill up a bit of screen time rather than fulfill the plot. That being said, there isn't much of a plot in these films, which is why it isn't a very, very good film. But if you're watching it purely for the purpose of the gore, the violence, and the intense scenes where people are getting killed, then this film is for you, and you will enjoy it. I've got no doubt about that. Thanks. This has been Sam. I'm out.